All right, big man. Today is Friday. It's April 8th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. True Crime Friday. I have a documentary review that we watched on HBO Max. Before we hop in, though, you see this beef kit on the desk, everybody. You see that beef kit? I need you to go to tasterealchicago.com right now to buy one, please. We'd really appreciate it. If you like the show, if you like Barstool Chicago, supporting our collaboration here with JP Graziano is very important to us. And there's a lot of cool things you could do. You know, you can make burgers. Jim's posting videos with grilled chicken. He's something he's trying now. So there's a lot of great things you could do. Go check out the beef kit. You get some giardiniera seasoning. You get the mezzo. You get the Italian beef seasoning. And if you just buy, all you got to do is buy his bread, some broth, and some ground chuck, and you'll be good to go. Ground chuck or ground, I forget. Check the directions; they're in there. But you just buy some beef, and you're able to shred it. You'll be good to go. But make sure you're checking it out. TasteRealChicago.com. 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 Go do it. And also, 901 West Randolph. The shop's open today. Go grab a sub when you go out tonight. Or Masters weekend. Don't sleep on JP. Don't sleep on JP. They'll be open today and tomorrow, closed on Sunday, 11 to 4 during the day, and they'll be open till 1 a.m., 12:30, probably last order-ish tonight. So go do that. Make sure you do it. Also, Upstart, if you find yourself in a situation where you're getting overloaded with debt, Upstart's here for you. Make sure you check out Upstart because high-interest credit card debt is not fun. It's not fun. Nobody likes it. You get in this hamster wheel of never-ending debt month after month, and it feels like you're never going to dig yourself out. So make sure you use Upstart. The Upstart-powered personal loans can help you pay down the high-interest debt, all online with the simple, easy-to-understand payment terms. Upstart has helped over 1.8 million customers on their path to financial freedom. So whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, Upstart can help you get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. Upstart knows, and this is very important, that you're more than just your credit score. So rather than looking at your credit score alone, they consider other factors, like your income, your employment, and other information provided in your loan application to find you a smarter rate for your loan. You can check your rate in minutes for loans between $1,000 to $50,000 without impacting your credit score, and you can even receive the funds as fast as one business day after accepting your loan. So don't wait. Check your rate today at upstart.com/Eddie. That's upstart.com/EDDIE. Do check your rate today. Don't forget to use that URL to let them know that we sent you. One more time, loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/Eddie. Start being smarter about paying off that debt today. Allie, happy April Fool's Day.
That's right.
Do people say happy April Fool's Day? Or they just acknowledge, like, April Fools?
You're supposed to do
But it's
April
also
Fools.
not when we're recording. We're recording the day before, so.
2 days
before. So,
yeah.
Whatever.
Happy April Fool's Eve.
Eve, yeah, exactly. Regardless, I hope people have been paying attention.
Yes.
Because we've been posting on Instagram and Twitter, and we mentioned on a couple episodes here that today we've only done one of these, the Richard Ramirez one on Netflix, I think.
The Night Stalker one?
Yeah, to my knowledge, that's the only one we've done. We are going to be covering the HBO documentary. It's 2 parts, an hour each if you haven't watched it. So, I mean, pretty easy here, too, if you want to pause and come back. It's a light watch. It's called Undercurrent, The Disappearance of Kim Wall. It was... We'll start with this. People, if you want to stop this and go watch that, you could do that now. And if not, we'll give you a brief synopsis of what happened. So Kim Wall was a journalist, went to Columbia, and she was on a submarine with basically the Elon Musk of Denmark.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And then like the whole time I was thinking it, and then they say it at the end. I was like, okay, thank you for giving that comparison. The guy was just kind of like a all over the place kind of guy. He did rockets. He did submarines.
Like DIY, though.
Yes, exactly.
It's crazy.
He was an inventor. And he was, I didn't know, first and foremost, I didn't know that submarines were so just like only government kind of thing. You know, I figured, I know not everyone has their own submarine. I figured they're rare. But at the same time, I didn't know that they were so uncommon, like privately owned.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also kind of like what use does, your Joe Smith have doing with the submarine? Like, it's not like you're going to go cruising out on your speedboat underwater. It's like I feel like minimal use for them.
Yep.
people are probably going to spend, people are going to get a private jet before they build a submarine.
For sure.
Kind of thing.
Dude, submarines are kind of cool. Like, that's something I would definitely be interested in.
Would you go in one? I mean,
yeah, for sure.
This story
aside. I mean,
aside.
not this one, obviously. yeah, like I wouldn't go in this one.
Because you would go in one?
Yeah, of course. Would you?
I guess. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say no, but
yeah,
it's wild to me. Like, nobody ever talks about submarines.
No, I know.
Never.
They should. Like, they're pretty cool.
They're wild.
So essentially, a journalist, Kim Wall, she is doing a piece, and she goes on this guy Peter Madsen's submarine, and she's supposed to come back,
and she doesn't
at a certain time, and she never comes back.
Yep.
And it's just wild. Like it was weird. So like my general view of the doc, it was 2 hours. And
wait, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
How did you? Because you came up with this doc to do. Like,
yeah.
How did you?
Someone suggested it.
Oh, someone
suggested it to me.
All right.
Yeah.
Because there was two undercurrents. And
Yeah.
they were both like murder related.
Yes.
So don't watch the wrong one. But.
Yeah, don't watch the wrong one. Make sure you watch the Kim Wall one. I don't know. It was a lot happened, but there was never a point where it was like, oh, this is like maybe this happened. It was pretty straightforward, I should say.
Yeah,
right.
It didn't get like down into the nitty gritty of things. Like it also left. I did a little bit of research on just like the case in general outside of the documentary, and the documentary did leave a lot of like small details out. They didn't.
Okay.
I think I guess in my opinion, it was more focused around this like character of Peter Madsen and telling Kim's story, like from Kim's family and friends side, having her story told and from like a, women in journalism kind of prospect versus like, it was almost like, here's a wild story, not like, here's a true crime case, because it didn't go super, super far into detail.
Yeah.
But they did.
They really did it.
Story.
Now that you say that, like they give pretty much the 3 different ways that he said that she died.
Yeah.
But then they never really went so far after that.
No.
So the first way, obviously, they say that it was she hit her head on the hatch and went down.
First he said.
Oh, she got off. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, she got off.
My apologies. Yeah.
First he was like, I dropped her off. I haven't seen her since.
Yeah.
Something happened to her like after I dropped her off. And then, like, in tangent with that, when they like originally couldn't find the submarine, they located it. So her boyfriend got concerned at 10 o'clock when she wasn't home because she was only supposed to be out there for a couple hours. By midnight, he's reported her missing. And so they're trying to locate the submarine, and they located it like around midnight, like not long after. And they get but they can't. So they locate the submarine, but they can't get in contact with Peter on board.
Yeah. It was like if the air traffic controller couldn't get in hold with the cockpit, so nobody knew what was going on.
Right. They couldn't get it in contact with him until like 10:30, 11 the next morning. So 12 hours. Obviously, we know what he was doing. But anyways, when they finally do get in contact with him, he's like, everybody's good. We're all good. Like everybody on board is we're all good. Like, there's nothing wrong. We had a minor issue, yada, yada. A very short period of time later, they surface. He like jumps out into the water for a rescue and the boat sinks and Kim is nowhere to be found. But when he gets off from like being like rescued from the water, and you can see it in the documentary, he like gives a thumbs up. Like the reporter, whoever asks him, like, Peter, are you okay? And he like gives a thumbs up. He's all like hunky dory. He's like, there's nobody else on board with me. He goes, I'm sad. I'm sad because
the Nautilus.
Yeah, the Nautilus sank. But he's basically just like shrugged it off as if his like homemade submarine that I'm sure took a long time, a lot of money to build, that just sank. And even the biographer in the documentary said like he seemed so unbothered by it that it just sank. Yeah. And then he was like, no, he said I was the only one on board. And they're like, well, no, you weren't. And then
so they didn't buy his that she got off the boat the night before at all.
Right.
Thankfully, like that, a lot of good investigators, and they were on the case right away.
Yeah.
Like, no way.
And there's a picture of her, like when they're taking off. There's that picture of them both standing out at the top before they're fully submerged. So we know she was
out, but that's not to say that he didn't really let her out at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
But they still it was a bad hunch, or like they just knew that she was still missing. So they're like, hey, we have to at least see this through. So they extracted the sub, they got it out, the Nautilus, and they smell blood, they see blood, and
her stuff is still
there. So it's like, okay,
why would you drop her off and her stuff is still there?
Yes. Now something seriously happened.
Yeah.
Then they get to that point. Then he changes the story to the fact that that she hit her head on the hatch.
Yeah, on this like on the super heavy hatch, and whatever. And so, I thought it was so creepy how when he was telling this story, that this second story of she hit her head, and she died from it. Then he was like, I had no choice but to give her a funeral at sea. Like that's what he quoted, like a funeral at sea, and I had to.
Yeah, like there was some like.
It just creepy, like some ominous
code of ethics for like the sea that like this is what I had to do.
Yeah. And then I think like they still weren't buying this, especially because he had the first story that she got off the boat. Mm-hmm. So now the second story, they're like, this is one, a completely different story, and two, I mean, still you didn't have to bury her at sea, and you shouldn't have. And that's very weird. Naturally,
like, the beginning, they're very suspicious. They're poking around. Who knows? Maybe he's telling the truth. Who knows? But once you see blood and she's missing, then you really dig into the investigation. Like, let's find this body. They found her head. They found her torso first. And then they ended up, long, extensive diving search. Like, they really put resource into it, which is awesome.
And it took, it took 11 days just to find the torso, and that's only because it washed up on the beach, and like a cyclist found it. And then from there it was like, once they found the torso, they were like, something's wrong. Obviously they already knew something was wrong, but they're like, something's really wrong.
If there's a burial at sea, like why is she dismembered?
What I thought was crazy though is when they searched for the rest of her body, and it took them a really long time to find it because you're searching the ocean, but I thought it was crazy how they were saying like they calculated how like a body or body parts would move underwater in order to be able to like calculate where they should be searching, which I thought was, I don't know how somebody comes up with those calculations. I guess probably like weight and speed in the water and all that stuff. But
and I don't even know how they figured out where he would have sent her off too. Like there's a lot of like I think they had a point that they kept referencing, but I was like, all right, how do they get that point? How do they know that that's where?
Right. How do they know that that's where?
Yes.
And then when they found her
skull, which I would say too, like, we see so many of these. So many people are not, afforded like the extensive dive search that, so it's awesome that like this was seen through. And
it was probably, this story blew up so much because like this stuff just doesn't happen. They said multiple times, like, this is one of the safest places in the world. It's one of the safest countries in the world. So like for something this horrific to happen,
it's crazy.
It absolutely was chaotic.
Yeah. And the guy had some fame. Like he was,
and he's a well-known person
about him.
Right.
Like he's like, oh, there's that wacky guy building that again. He's doing
exactly.
This, he's doing that.
It'd be like if Elon Musk did that here. Exactly like you said, like he was a well-known person of the community, and
like people wouldn't think twice about getting on Elon Musk's submarine. That'd be the coolest experience ever.
Right. People would be like this. And she had been tracking him down for an interview for months before this. Like she was really pumped about this. And the sad part was, they like briefly mentioned this in the documentary, but she was getting ready to move to China with her boyfriend. And this was like the last story that she was going to do before they left. And so when she got the interview, they actually had like a going away party. She had to miss the going away party to go do this interview. She was like, I've been tracking this down for months. It's my last story here. It was supposed to be pretty like open and close. And then obviously she never came back. But to your point, like the resources that were used in this search were, I mean, they said there was like over 50 divers. There was like over 3,000 dive times, and it took them a really long time. But when they did find her, it was clear that he tried to like sink her body parts. Yeah. They were in bags with like pipes and parts that would sink.
And then the big finding was that she never suffered any blunt force trauma to her skull, to her head.
Right.
So they're like, all right, this is not how she died. Yeah. And then he changed the story again. He says, oh no, it's carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah, which I guess, and I don't know if he provided maybe more detail into this of, they had to have like surfaced, right, for this scenario to play out, because he said he was like up top. He wasn't inside the submarine. Yeah. He said he was up top, whatever. She got locked in, pressure went wild, and she died of carbon monoxide poisoning or carbon dioxide poisoning. Which one is it?
Monoxide.
Carbon monoxide. Carbon dioxide is what we breathe out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I thought I had that right.
I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, it's all right. So then like basically that's like
the third.
That's kind of where it goes in my eyes. Like, is there anything we're missing here at the end where it's like, all right, it goes to trial, like he gets a life sentence. Nothing really more comes out details wise to like what drove him to do it. Besides him having some deep fantasies. Yeah. But like why her? What was that? Yeah. Was this, that's what I did like, that's what I
tried to, I feel like they at the end of the very end of part 2, they tried to kind of like piece together, well, we obviously know like it was some sort of like sexual deviance, fantasy related, but as far as like leading up to it, they kind of started picking away at like, he was forced to resign from like Copenhagen subordinals, and which obviously was like a huge ego blow to him. And then he started his rocket project where he's like, I'm going to build a rocket, launch it into space. That ended up failing. So that was like another huge hit to his ego. And he felt like he was no longer the center of attention. He was obviously failing at all these things. And he said like there was this, I guess, what did he say? I'm trying to find, I wrote it down because he was like, they said like he needed a project where he was the number one guy. He was the center of attention. Like he was getting that, like feeding his
huge ego. Like he was a psychopath. Like he wanted to be the guy. He liked the attention. There was that. And correct. Like, they found that to be like, that's what. Yeah.
Like he was in a life crisis and it ended like.
That was his deal. Like he
Kim.
was, like he was nuts.
Yeah.
Like the guy was.
He finally cracked.
Yeah, and when I say that, like motive, like we obviously know that. I'm just saying what happened in the moments.
Oh, like down there
yes,
in the actual submarine.
That's what we never found out. That's what we don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think.
Like there was never like tracing, like, oh, well, here's what happened. He changed. Like, you know what I mean? There was none of that.
Right, and I don't know that he ever
confessed to anything or like disclosed that information.
I mean, the documentary didn't say really anything about it, and I didn't see, too much more about it. I don't know, like the way, because those audio recordings, of him from prison or whatever. First of all, I didn't know that those were secret recordings. He didn't know he was being recorded at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then, he found out after when they asked him for permission to put them in the show, in the documentary. But even when he's talking in those recordings, like he just talks so dramatically, like in circles, in story mode. He doesn't say like, this is what happened. This is how we got from point A to point B. He's just full of like fluff. And so that makes me think like maybe he never did allude to what actually went down there.
Yeah. No, yeah. And he was, clearly a deeply disturbed guy just to do that. But then you add in the whole chat room situation and what he would do to other women and what he was
Yeah.
into, and the article that he wrote, like
Yeah.
he was like, that was nuts. And
Very nuts.
Like it seems like we said, it was going to happen to someone. I don't know why Kim Wall, and there, and
I think he just saw opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of like a ticking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And, she was tracking him down for the interview. So when she's been tracking him down for so long, like trying to get this interview, and he finally invites her on the submarine, she's like, heck yeah, like let's go. And then it's like, aha, here's my opportunity. And he had actually invited that other woman on the submarine as well.
Yeah, the one who was
like
the
blacked out.
silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, well, can my kids come along? Can my boyfriend come along? And he was like, yeah, never mind.
Nope. Yep.
Sure can't.
She's like, nope.
So do you
have any other thoughts besides that? I mean, my main thought was like, it's so brutal for, Kim to, like, that was such a routine story. It felt like,
and they talked a lot about how she just had done such bigger stories.
She went to North Korea,
in Cuba.
Yes. Like she went to like some very dangerous places.
Yes.
And then like she gets done it like in her own country. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
Yeah. And she seemed like just this, like, obviously very brave, adventurous spirit who had done all of these, crazy reporting stories. And she did that one, like, toxic waste plant. Mm-hmm. She went to it and she did all these things. And yeah, like right in her backyard, this happens to her. It was also, on another note, when they handed him his sentence, they like made a big deal. I mean, and see, I think this is the difference. Obviously, us watching it being like, oh, he got a life sentence, because like everybody here gets a life sentence. Mm-hmm. Whereas over there, when they were prosecuting him, like
it's somebody, a big deal.
Yeah, somebody who's oddly enough like only committed one murder doesn't usually get a life sentence. Usually, it's I think they said 16 years is kind of your first offense charge, but
no, I think they said if you get a life sentence, they typically only serve 16 years or something.
Oh yeah, because they have parole.
Yeah,
they have parole abilities.
Yeah, that was
after 16 years.
And they're like, oh, what do you think? And they're like, oh, I honestly don't know if he's going to get out. So yeah, it was very possible that this guy, and then
it's possible that he could get out, and so they ended up going through with the full life sentence, because everybody was like shocked, because he was on paper had no prior crimes. Obviously, that policeman was like, I would be shocked if this was his first crime. Like, this is not, people don't just like pick up things like this, right? It's a learned nature. And he did try to appeal in like very soon after his sentence, and within the same year, he tried to appeal, but they said no. So I don't know if. I don't know their legal system that well to see if he only has a certain amount of appeals or.
And he escaped from prison.
He had I forgot about that.
To his stomach. Like, dude, this guy was.
I feel like
a maniac.
They really, like, blew past the escape. Like, he escaped and had
but
a
I
bomb
also
strapped
like
to his chest.
But that's another thing where I don't know if that's a country difference, a cultural difference,
maybe.
Where it's like maybe it's like easier to escape there. I don't know.
Maybe,
It's like obviously prisoner escapes here. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a huge deal.
I mean, the documentary itself, they just kind of like breezed past it, and I was like, but that's huge. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he escaped, and it looked like from the surveillance video of him running. I mean, the prison had to have been in a pretty like populated. It looked like it was literally just like in a neighborhood. I don't know how far he ran, where that footage was taken, but they caught him like he was just sitting there on a busy road and had all the snipers pointed at him, and that
it's crazy
bomb strapped to his chest. It's just,
which is not true, but
he said which they thought, and it kind of looked like it from the footage,
the vantage point.
Yeah, he had that like
something on him,
thick hoodie or something on him, but it was
other thoughts.
No, I mean, I think the documentary was pretty well done. Other than it didn't go super far into detail.
Yeah.
As far as some other sources would, but I really don't think that was the point of it.
No,
I think it was more.
It was just more like shocking, like, hey,
entertainment.
Here's this, but not even entertainment. It's more like, hey, there's this guy who was so high profile, like this quirky dude, and like look like this happened in Denmark. Like,
Yeah.
like that would be a huge story here. And I'm sure maybe it did make its way over here.
Right.
But I think that was really it.
Yeah. Do you remember hearing about this at all?
No, I don't.
I don't either. And it was recent. It was in
Yeah.
2017.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember hearing about it, but.
Anything else you found? You said you'd read some other stuff after it, or did we go through it all pretty much?
No, just like, kind of nitty gritty details of like how the investigation actually, like I said, like when she was reported missing, times and stuff like that. But nothing like shocking that wasn't in the documentary. I think I guess my last thought would be like, I thought it was very interesting how people who knew him were like, oh, we would have never seen this coming. But then they looked back and they're like, you know what? There were some warning signs.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would have never expected it of him, but now that it's happened, we can definitely see.
Yeah, we could see it happening, yeah.
It was one of those things where like you can't see the red flags until it's too late.
Yeah. No, the guy was crazy, man. And that's just so brutal when she, you just think it's such a run of the mill, like once in a lifetime experience too. Like literally, you're not going to go on a submarine again.
No.
That's such a cool story. And then like, here's the thought of like that terror when like, who knows what happened when that door closed is like.
And how scary,
it's
like
awful. It's awful.
Thinking, obviously they were however far underwater, like nobody can hear you scream. Nobody knows what's happening to you. Like, she stood no chance.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the perfect opportunity for a crime. It's so scary.
It really is. And, so obviously like all these we do, tragic's very sad, but the scholarship fund, that was nice. So journalism scholarship fund. So, maybe we could link that in the description too, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was Undercurrent on HBO.
Yeah.
Go check it out and, let us know what you think. But that's it, everybody. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for listening this week. We'll be back on Monday. We will see you then.